Yeah. All right. Welcome to a Cancer Story podcast where we share stories of survivorship, loss, faith, lifestyle, alternatives, and resources. I'm your host, BK Foster, and after my diagnosis, I have come across numerous people that have incredible stories to share. One of which is here today. She helped me with one of my alternative therapies, I guess, and we're going to have her talk about that today. So I'd like to introduce you to Lily. Lily, welcome to a Cancer Story podcast, and if you would just give us a short little bio on yourself, and then we'll get into the therapy that we started last week.
Well, my name is Lily Saborit. I am Cuban born. I moved to Miami when I was 5, and then up to Atlanta 10 years ago. And since then, I've been living up in Marietta. And that's where you and I met.
It is.
That's where you and I met, through a mutual friend, 10 years ago. Yeah, right about the same time we moved here.
Yeah.
And then you kind of went on your own. We did all kinds of different things and reconnected.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here to talk about.
Very nice. So one of my best friends moved back from Tampa, where he worked with your wife, Angela, at the Capitol Grill, and they came up here to open the second location at Perimeter Mall. And I met you shortly after. We reconnected after 10 years. Because Stuart left to go to Florida about 10 years prior. So. Came and then I've seen you a few times at some functions and stuff like that, and then this past Memorial Day we reconnected and we were talking. I was talking about my stage 4 diagnosis and some of the alternative therapies that I've been doing, and you're like, well, there's a reason that we rekindled, and I started that with you last Wednesday, and I had my first treatment. And if you would kind of talk about the device and what it does,
okay,
and how it helps people of not just cancer diagnosis, but you showed me a skin lesion that had incredible results in just a few days, really.
Yeah. So after moving to Atlanta, I started suffering with a bunch of different health issues. I think I was just mentioning to the guys that the altitude change for me coming from Miami to here, for most people that probably wouldn't affect them. For me, it did, because I suffer from migraines. So the barometric pressure change for me was a big deal. The weather change, I was having just all kinds of stuff. I went from, having issues when I was younger in my 20s and 30s to feeling better to then like all of this stuff happening. When I moved here first, I actually was diagnosed with hemochromatosis, which is high iron disease.
Thank you for explaining that. I don't know what that
high iron disease.
Yeah.
Really, basically, my body wasn't processing it, so it stores in your liver and your heart. It could basically break down your system. So I got diagnosed pretty early because I was in my 40s at the time, and my doctor's like, well, there's no cure for it. All you can do is maintain it through phlebotomies. Meaning every few months I have to go in, they take my blood out and they throw it in a trash can right next to me, and I'm like, that's so cruel.
Wow.
But that's what happened. So I started feeling better a little bit after the phlebotomies, but I still I didn't have enough energy. I was lethargic. I started getting migraine after migraines. I had gotten to the point where my migraines were so debilitating, I didn't leave my house. Because I would get one, I could go down the street and I'd have to literally turn around and drive back home. And when I tell you migraine, people are like, oh, I get a migraine too. I'm like, okay, does it look like somebody that's having a heroin withdrawal when you're, vomiting? Does it feel like that? And they're like, oh, no, that is not your migraine. I said, that's my migraine. And it took me days to recover from it. Like my brain hurt. So I just kind of got slower and slower. And I'm an event producer. So I went from doing a lot of things to not being able to do much. And I also had a problem with my foot, an injury I had when I was a kid long ago. Again, as you grow, things start to slow down, things start to, break down. And for me, my circulation was so poor that everything was a problem. Everything was becoming a problem. And then the more I learned about the diseases that, like, condition I had, like hemochromatosis. And I'm like, all of these things my parents had, the residuals of all of these root issues. And I'm like, well, I can't go down that route. My mother had Alzheimer's. My father, they both died of a heart attack. I'm like, I don't change something soon, I'm heading in a very bad direction. So right before COVID, I had been diagnosed. It was a terrible year. I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, macular degeneration. Like, I'm like, I'm not going into any more doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
They're giving me results of things that have no cure. So I'm like, oh, this is going backwards for me. So I went to see the rheumatologist, and she looked at me, and I was as pale as this. I was like, my lips were white. I'm like, I'm not this color normally. I'm Latin. I'm a little darker. Like, I'm pale. I know I'm pale. And she's like, okay. You know, she was worried. She's like, let's do a rheumatoid test on you. And then she came back with the results. She goes, I want to do another one. I'm like, okay, let's do another one. And then, sure enough, she's like, but since you have your liver's already compromised, I can't give you anything. And I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? She goes, she kind of gave me this look like, I'm like, okay, great. So it happened, I talk about this stuff all the time, and my daughter called me one day. She goes, Mom, I had this guy walk into my store today, and he told me this story. She goes, look at this little video I'm going to send you. It was like a 4-second video. That little video I showed you of the blood of the circulator.
It's literally like 4 seconds.
It's 4 seconds. I was like, oh my God, how do you get this? She goes, well, he told me the story that his daughter in Miami, it's 100 degrees, was wearing sweatpants and sweatshirts outside. And she was pale, she was lethargic, she's 12. They were testing her repeatedly. Doctors can't find anything in her blood work. But the girl has no energy at all. So the parents were super concerned, and they found the BEMER. And the BEMER is an acronym for, I always get this wrong, so of course your thing has gone down. Bio, energy, I'm going to get it, hold on, this is the edit part. Uh-oh. No.
What's it say?
Antivirus protection expired. There he goes. Just there.
Well, definitely have to edit some of this, huh?
Yeah. Okay. BEMER is a bioelectrical magnetic energy regulation. That's the name of the system. It's basically low intensity pulse electric magnetic field. So you lay on this mat, there's no feeling to it. You feel a little tingling, your blood moving through your body. You sit on it, you lay on it for 8 minutes at a time. You can go up to 16 minutes twice a day. But what it basically does is it helps your blood oxygenates your blood enough to get your circulation to work properly. So the way I describe it is, if you have a brand new car and you never changed oil, eventually your parts are going to start breaking down because the sludge and the stuff that's in the oil won't let it work. Same thing for your body. And we have so many outside environmental things. Our body's just reacting to stress, hormones. The older you get, the worse it is. That's why they start putting you on blood thinners. Blood thinners is to loosen your blood to get it to flow. But what the BEMER does is it does it naturally for you.
Right.
So it actually, you feel it. You felt it the first time you did it, and we only did it one time. So I started using it in August of 2019 when I was at my worst, and I went to this chiropractor twice a week, and I used it there, and I felt great. I was like, oh my God, I'm a new person. So August, September, October, I went through December. December, things got rough. I couldn't make it in there for like a month. And I felt like the Energizer Bunny. I'm like, I'm slowing down. My head, like I could feel the pressure on my head. And so Angela decided, let's just buy one. So we don't have to keep going, and we can all use it at the house. And so we purchased it in January of 2020, right before the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Thankfully, because I had no immune system at that time.
Yeah, and you probably couldn't get the therapy in the middle of COVID.
I wouldn't have been able to go. That would have been it. Yeah. So as I used it more, my blood work, I had my blood work done every 6 months because of my condition. It went, you could see the crash when things were at its worst. All my numbers were all over the place. Nothing was normal. And then I started using it, and you see it go back up, and it's consistently been fine. I've had one phlebotomy in 4 years.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
And actually got to a place in 2018, prior to us purchasing it, when things started getting bad. I went to get a phlebotomy, and the doctor put the needle in my arm, and the blood wasn't coming out. And I'm like yelling at the lady, like, hello, look at this. And she finally comes and pulls it out, and it was like string cheese. It was red and it was stringy.
Wow.
And my doctor looked at it and she goes, oh, that's fine. I was like, well, first of all, you're fired, and I'm going to do something. The blood's not running through my body, literally. And she thought that was okay. I was like, that's not okay. It's not okay with me.
Yeah.
So since using it, now 4 years later, no migraines. You see me running around. I've traveled all over the country by car by myself. No pressure, no pain. I know my triggers. Like, I have food allergies that I can't touch. Like, for me, peppers, nightshade vegetables are terrible. Nightshade vegetables are terrible for most people, actually, across the board. But when you're compromised, they trigger all kinds of things in your body, your liver.
Yeah.
They don't like it. And then just the weather. I feel the change in the weather when there's a bad storm coming. I feel the pressure, but I don't get a migraine,
Right.
which is completely different.
That's really
I can
good.
tolerate a little pressure,
Yeah.
but the migraine's different.
That's really
so.
good. So
That's why when you said that to me, I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, I have something for you.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
And so, a lot of the alternative therapies that I do involve increasing circulation because, what through my research, I found that, disease can't live in an oxygenated
Yep.
environment.
Exactly right.
So, I have neuropathy from the chemo as a result of some of the chemotherapy that I take. I have it in my hands and my feet. And so, my biggest goal of anything that I'm doing right now is I want to be able to feel my hands and feet again. So I'm doing I do a lot of magnetic, red light, frequency therapies. I mean, most of what I do is a frequency magnetic, it's working on the blood. It's working on the blood flow. And I'll say, I was hesitant, like, how's this going to work in 8 minutes twice a day? Which I'm going to go every Wednesday for a while. And then she actually took a picture of me after, and I had like rosy cheeks, so you could tell that the blood flow was there, and I felt like I could feel the blood flow. I felt a lot of energy. So I guess what it's really good at over time is clearing out the veins. It's like the sludge that you have and the calcium deposits and stuff that kind of flushes them out of the blood system, of the vascular system.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
I think that's great. I mean, you showed me this girl that had a lesion on her leg that we talked about already, but I mean, just to see the difference. I mean,
In 6 days, she has a lesion on her leg that was about this big around, that in 6 days using the red light therapy with the BEMER, says we used the mat, helping the circulation from the inside, and then using the light from the outside, it reduced necrosis by 1 centimeter in 6 days.
So,
Which is pretty
And the
amazing.
picture was nasty. I mean, I looked at that and I'm like, I just cut her leg off.
Yeah. I think they were ready to do that, but because her circulation is so poor, they don't know that it would actually heal.
Yeah.
Which is the problem. So, because normally, I mean, that was that bad for 6 years. She's had it for like 30.
Yeah.
It had grown to that size. So I just spoke to her yesterday, actually. And I said, so how are you feeling now? Like, it's been a couple weeks since I've come home. And she said, I still feel good. The doctor, my wound specialist, took off the stem cell patch she had put on right before I arrived on Tuesday, and put a new one on. She goes, now I'll be able to tell whether it's the stem cell patch or I said, has it changed since? She goes, no, since you left, it hasn't gotten any smaller.
So-
I'm like, okay, you'll be able to tell.
Yeah.
You'll be able to tell a difference.
So, and you're doing, most all this out of the kindness of your
Yeah.
heart. You've got the equipment.
I do.
Which it comes with. You've got the full package. I think that has the mat. It has like a wrap, I guess,
a pad.
and then there's this little handheld that can go deep.
Yeah.
And it can be isolated therapy.
Isolated, and then that changes into the red light.
And that changes into the red light. And for me, this is a Cancer Story podcast. I think anybody that's been diagnosed with cancer could benefit from a circulation kind of therapy.
Absolutely. All kinds of diseases.
So,
Everything.
so if, where did you find, you said you found this first through a chiropractor.
I did. There was a chiropractor here locally that has a BEMER. It has a lot of different therapies, but I specifically wanted to try it out before purchasing it.
Right.
So I wanted to see, is this going to work? That's the way I do things. I just try it. So I did, and I was like, I love this. And I was only using it twice a week. So I used it 8 times in a month. Since then, since we bought it, we use it every day.
Yeah.
I can go a few days without using it and not have a problem at all.
Does your wife, Angela,
She does.
She uses it as well?
She uses it. We have our mother-in-law using it. I have.
And you said your daughter even
Our
has
daughter actually wanted one, so she has one in Miami. Her and her partner use it. She has another dear friend that is using it also. I was recently down there, a 30-year-old, one of her best friend from like elementary school, 30 years old, and she has high blood pressure and is having all these like minor like heart conditions. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, I see how swollen she is, and she was so stressed out. I was there, and I'm like, before you leave here today, you're gonna get on that BEMER. And she's like, well, Becca's told me about it. I said, no, we're gonna do it right now.
Yeah.
And I put her on it, and the next day she called me. She goes, can you guys come over and bring it over?
So if you were to suggest to somebody that's looking for this therapy, first try to find a chiropractor that has, do you look specifically for the BEMER? Is it red light therapy? Is it magnetic therapy?
Well, anybody that has a BEMER, and there are some people locally that do have it and are doing treatments in different locations.
Yeah.
Other than a chiropractor, that one is a chiropractor. For me, I actually, since I just came back from New Haven, I decided to become a registered distributor. But I haven't gone through they actually have a BEMER education piece, like a university, which I'm going to go to in Fort Lauderdale, I think in September. That's just, they bring in all these specialists, have done all these research. They tell you down to like the science of all of it. And I love that part.
Yeah.
I want to know every single thing that this machine can do because, again, conversations like this everywhere. It's shocking to see how people don't put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. So if you told me that earlier, I didn't understand it. It's great to hear that you want to become a distributor for this. So what I'd like to do is kind of get your information. We can put a link in the bio to where maybe, when people hear this, if they can't find it or they want to have one of their own machines,
I'm happy to treat anybody. Honestly, if they reach out to me, I can go to their home, and we can meet somewhere. They can come to my home. I really want as many people to benefit from this as possible.
That's fantastic.
It's painless.
Yeah.
I mean, for like I see
it is. There's no. What I love about a lot of the, and I don't mean to interrupt, about a lot of the therapies and stuff like that. There is no side effects. Like with my chemo, it's saved my life. I can't argue with the fact that it saved my life. I can argue with it goes against my constitution.
Right.
But the fact is I'm here because, one of the reasons I'm here is because that I chose to do chemo when I first got diagnosed.
But there's studies already. And see, this country's a little harder to move in the medical field, as we know how things work.
Yeah.
In Europe, there are more than 12,000 hospitals that have BEMERs. This technology's been around for almost 30 years now.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's not available, it's the resistance of, well, you can use this machine that's going to take away all these other things that you don't need.
Yeah.
So again, considering I have all these autoimmune conditions, I don't take any medication other than thyroid medication.
Right.
That's it.
And it is FDA approved.
FDA cleared. It's FDA cleared, medically cleared for use at home, which means you can operate it on your own, purchase it in your home, and use it as many times a day as you need to use it.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you for coming on and explaining, the benefits that it's had in your life. And thank you for sharing it. And, I'm glad you share it with other people. And I'm sure I'm glad you shared it with me.
I shared the dog, what happened with my puppy, right? With our daughter's dog?
Yeah. Go ahead and tell our
So
audience.
my daughter's dog got attacked by rattlesnakes over the summer and had a terrible situation with the right to legs. And the doctor said, that his muscle was going to molt off. It was really, really like life or death situation. And I told her, I said, let's try it. Why not? Let's try the BEMER.
Yeah.
And I treated her on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And if I could show a picture, can I show a picture?
Well, I don't know that. Yeah. I mean, this is mostly an audio video.
The effect in 3 days was shocking to me. I was stunned. The inflammation, his leg was really, really swollen, went down by 4 inches, and the color went from bright purple to like a light pink. And in 2 weeks, he was fully healed.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. I was amazed.
I mean,
I'm like, wow.
I was like, this thing is just like magic. That's when I decided I'm going to go treat my friend.
And I look at that and I looked at the lesion on that woman's leg and I looked at the dog and I'm like, if it's doing that to what you can see on the outside, what's it really doing to what you don't see on the inside? Exactly.
It's rebuilding. And our bodies are meant to heal themselves. If you take all the other clutter out of it, it'll heal. And again, slowly, the more for me, the more you use, especially somebody like you,
right?
The more you use the BEMER, the faster you're going to see results.
Exactly.
And the faster everything will start slowly healing itself. Your liver can heal itself. The pancreas can work on itself. But you have to have the right blood flow through your body.
Yeah.
And I wish you would do it every day. I mean, if I could chase you down, for a month, I'd have you on that BEMER every day.
Right. Well, eventually I'll probably wind up purchasing one.
Because honestly, it's life-changing. I did that for the friend of mine. She was in a terrible place. I hadn't seen her, hadn't connected with her for like a few years during COVID.
Yeah, we'll get you to be a licensed distributor and then we'll talk.
So listen, I just want you guys to heal. I want everybody to feel better.
Well, and I love that you have that. I love that you have that attitude. I mean, it's not about. It's definitely not about an income for you. It's a passion.
No,
it's a mission.
It is.
It really is a mission.
It is a mission.
And I want to thank you for sharing your story here today.
My pleasure.
I think that was inspiring. Like I said, I do a lot of therapy on my circulation, and this is just one more piece to the puzzle that I have. So I want to thank you for sharing. Such an amazing thing called the BEMER. If you look it up. We'll get a link to you down in the notes. And I hope if you found value in today's message, please subscribe to a Cancer Story podcast. Also check out our website, bkfoundnation.com, where you can browse our merchandise. I've got a book coming out called Legacy Blueprint. And, you can become a partner in our community. So please check us out. That was great.